Jesuit Pope Francis expected to arrive in the United States at Joint Base Andrews on September 22nd. He will then go directly to the Apostolic Nunciature, which you see right here, and it's not listed as being on his official places that he's going to stop, but I wanted to point these out. September 23rd, 9:15 a.m., the 266th Pope will meet Barack Obama at the White House on the 266th day of the year. This just so happens to also be the length of time for the human gestation cycle, where a baby would grow in one's womb. Now, 11 a.m. on the same day, the Pope Mobile will parade around the Ellipse and a portion of the National Mall. He will then at 11:30 hold this prayer with United States bishops at St. Matthew's Cathedral. At 4:15, he's expected to hold Mass at the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception. And on the 24th at 9:20 a.m., he's going to hold a speech at a joint meeting of Congress. Now, this is a first for a pope. Okay? At 11:15 a.m. that same morning, he will visit St. Patrick's Church and different charities connected with that. And I'll leave a link so you guys can check out all the details with that. We'll move on to the next day here. New York City on the 24th. Actually, the same day, just later in that evening as he makes his way at around 5 p.m. on September 24th over to Kennedy International Airport. And he's expected to travel by helicopter to downtown Manhattan to hit this heliport you see right here. And at 6:45 in the evening, he will give prayer at St. Patrick's Cathedral. Now, September 25th, 8:30 a.m., he will be in a meeting with world leaders at the United Nations. At 11:30 a.m., he will hold this multi-faith service at the National September 11th Memorial and Museum. At 4 p.m., he will visit with 3rd and 4th graders in a classroom at Our Lady Queen of Angels School. He will then, as you can see here, move through a procession through Central Park. And at 6 p.m., there will be Mass at Madison Square Gardens, where at least 20,000 people are expected. And his final days here, he goes down to Philadelphia. At 10:30 a.m. on the 26th, he holds Mass at the Cathedral Basilica of St. Peter and Paul. At 4:45 p.m. on that day, he has a speech at Independence Hall. At 7:30 p.m., the Festival of Families kicks off along Benjamin Franklin Parkway, where 1 million people are expected to gather. This is September 26th. On the 27th at 9:15 a.m., he will have a meeting with around 300 to 350 bishops from around the world. This will take place at St. Charles Borromeo Seminary. And at 11 a.m., they're going to visit a correctional facility. And at 4 p.m., he will hold Mass to conclude the World Meeting of Families along Benjamin Franklin Parkway. And they will bring that to a close there. His final meeting will be at 7 p.m. with organizers, volunteers, and benefactors of the World Meeting of Families at Atlantic Aviation. And that's where he's going to depart for Rome from. So I just wanted to go over his full trip so people know what to expect, where he's going to be. Let me remind you, and those out there with drones that may not even care about this whole event, if you live anywhere around an area where the Pope's going to be, you cannot have your drone in the sky. Even if you're 2 or 3 miles away and you don't plan to observe him or anything, they will shoot your drone down out of the sky per them because it's not supposed to be there, or they will bring it down with other technology. These are the warnings they're putting out, big time. And to me, it's ridiculous because you should be free in your own country to do whatever you want. And just because someone wants to come prancing in, they put him on a pedestal, and all of a sudden your freedoms are taken away? That's a huge red flag right there, and you better pay attention to what comes flying out of this man's mouth. And they may do it in an obscure fashion where it's not blasted where everyone's watching it live. He could simply let something come flying out of his mouth during one of these speeches, and you'll hear about it in a couple headlines the next day from whatever outlets they want to push it through. And that's the key. It's those small things, because as they've been doing, and if you missed the video, I just put out a piece talking about UNICEF, which is backed by Pope Francis and the Vatican. UNICEF targeting children with a video that shows a new species. And basically they introduce this entity into a classroom and tell kids not to pick on it. And they're picking on him, throwing paper balls at him. He's got big eyes and these spots on his head, but he looks partially human and mixed with something else, obviously. And everyone out there that wants to say aliens, that is the deception here. These are not going to be what you think they are. Okay, they're going to be demonic on so many levels. And a lot of these life forms are PLF's programmable life forms that they're using to their advantage. And I will talk about that more in another big video, because every time I talk about it, it seems people miss it. And I talked about it several times now, once on the Ustream live stream where I said I was going to do it, and we did. And I went in depth on that. And if I got to do it again, I will, because it's important information. This massive deception they're getting ready to drop on the people, and you better think about it. What's the one thing they can use to fool the world? It's coming. It's been Dabu 7.